Good morning, everyone. It is Wealth Wednesday, Two Sisters. We're hoping you're ready. You're having a good morning, a good day. We'll chat a little bit about Wellness Wednesday at the back end of this podcast. But this is Carol Sue, aka Noni Boss, live with Two
Sisters. Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Yes, with a very bright lipstick on. And I noticed, excuse me, when we were on Monday, I forgot to put my lipstick on, but whatever. Yes, today is Wealth Wellness Wednesday, and we have an amazing guest on. And we are so excited to welcome to the Two Sisters podcast family, the amazing Rachel Venokur. Welcome.
Hi.
Welcome.
So happy to be here.
Thank you. We're super excited.
Yeah, we are so excited. So Rachel, obviously you're kind of in the same line of work as my sister and I are. And we obviously, excuse me, love wellness through fitness and nutrition, but there's always backstories. And I think the backstories are what really people can connect with, because we all have different types of health issues. And of course, you work with different clients and you have a backdrop to your story. Why don't we start out there and tell us a little bit about yourself and why you do the type of work that you do?
Yeah, sure. So I'm Rachel. I'm the founder of a health and wellness coaching company called Renew for a New You. And my story started back when I was 25 years old. I was living in Los Angeles. I was working on becoming an actress, and all of a sudden my life got really flipped upside down. And I got diagnosed with my first autoimmune disease, which really changed my whole life trajectory. I moved back to New York, which is where I'm from, where I live, New York City. And I knew I needed to be around family and around people that really knew me, because it was an incredibly difficult start to this journey of being diagnosed with something I had never heard about before, had no idea what I was supposed to be doing. And this experience is what allows me to work with clients in the way that I do, because I fully understand that first, those first couple of months of being diagnosed and feeling really lost, really confused, and like you have no control over your life anymore. And unfortunately, with autoimmune disease, you get one, you probably are going to get more. Mm-hmm. So over the years, I've been diagnosed with 3 additional autoimmune diseases. But during that time, I was like, I need to take control here. I feel like I'm completely out of control of my life. I don't know what I should be doing. And I found holistic nutrition and holistic health and decided to get certified and learn everything I could, really for myself first. But I knew I wanted to help other people. I knew that at that point that I had something to share and something that I was able to guide people through, even if I wasn't cured myself, because obviously we can't cure autoimmune disease in the way that we want, but I knew I could help people. And so over the years, I started a company, and I primarily work with people who are dealing with autoimmune conditions, either having trouble getting diagnosed, or are just diagnosed, or they've been sick for 20 years and they still don't feel well, right? And so again, it's about feeling very out of control. And I want to help empower people to control the things that are in their control. And there's a lot that we can do as the patient to play an active role in our healthcare. And so that's the kind of work that I do.
Amazing. And I love that you touched on all different avenues, because you're seeing, sadly, we're seeing so many more and more people really understand like what is going on, and it all links back to an autoimmune. And we didn't have these issues 20 years ago, 30 years ago. You might have had a small segment of the population that had them, but they're coming fast and furious to multi-generations. And Jan and I talk about this all the time. We truly believe it's, a lot of it is source-based. I mean, we can't control the air we breathe. We really can't control how the manufacturer manufactures the food. There's a lot of not so good items that are in our food sources today that really plague somebody that is has a sensitivity and or a known reaction to that, and really trying to find that happy mix of I've got to take control of it, but I first got to get diagnosed. And a lot of times for people with autoimmune, it takes a long time to even find out exactly which piece of the puzzle you are.
Yeah, on average, about 8 years and 4 different doctors to get a diagnosis, and that's on average.
Wow.
Yeah, and one of the things that I really feel passionate about is helping people get diagnosed. What should you bring to the doctor? What history do you need to have written out, ready to go? Like, you need to walk in prepared to a doctor's appointment. Help your doctor help you, right? Because it could take so long. There's so much blood work that needs to be done. There's so many things that need to be ruled out before something is ruled in. So the more prepared you are as the patient, the faster you can get your diagnosis. And that's something that I work on with people, because, waiting 8 years to get diagnosed is horrible. It is a horrible experience, and it's unfortunately something that many people go through. So I like to help.
What would you say to, your clients? Like, the number one thing I'm thinking, the basics, pad and paper, going back to journaling, how you feel each day, what different food groups are you maybe noticing, if that's specifically, what it is, or do you eat a certain food group that now, gives you that headache or that stomach or rash, whatever it may be. I would think journaling would probably be one of the key pieces.
Yeah, you're hitting on something really important. We have to be in touch with our bodies and understand the symptoms and the signals that we're getting and keep track of them. Data, right? Doctors live off of data. Like, to just say, oh, I have joint pain, they're going to want to know when, how long does it last? Where is it? Both sides, one side, what joints there. It's the data that's really important. And like you mentioned, Carol, the food, right? A lot of people don't even realize, oh, I just had this and now I feel like that,
Right.
And it's the journaling or the food diary or the keeping track of your symptoms. I have a pain tracker that it runs through everything from stomach aches to headaches to joint pain to a slew of other things. Basically, it's a huge list that'll help you to get started to tap into these things, because if you've never had to tap in before, you might not know how to do it and how to be really mindful of what's actually happening in your body and what might be causing it. And all of that information is what's going to help you get diagnosed that much faster, and also help you if your doctors put you on a new medication. You still have to track it. You still have to track, what are my side effects? What are my symptoms now that I've been on it 2 months, 3 months, 4 months? This takes time. So the more educated you are as a patient, the more data you have, the better off your whole situation is going to be, really, and the more empowered you're going to feel.
And I think too, with the empowerment part of it, what some people don't realize is, it's taking, but part of that is, as you said, is taking back that control. Now, does it mean that we're completely in control? Yes and no. But if we take an active participation in being prepared, and I think there's maybe a little bit, I don't want to say a negative connotation, but when people think, oh my God, now I got to do, keep all this information, like, that's unfortunately a part of it. And we have to accept that and not just say, oh, okay, I'm feeling this. Well, and as you were saying, well, the doctor's going to ask you very specific questions. You want to be empowered. Yes, it's a pain in the ass to put all that information down, but it's you taking control of your health in a way that, can help the doctor help you. So.
And what's interesting is that it's not even just the physical aspects. When you are taking control, when you are playing an active role in your healthcare, your mental health and your mental mindset and your stress management is completely different than if you were sitting back on the sidelines and like waiting for the medicine to kick in or waiting for your doctor to give you an answer. The more active you are, the better off you're going to be here, because so much of dealing with getting diagnosed or trying to get diagnosed is how you are mentally stable or not stable dealing with the situation. We grieve for the old us, where our dreams are changing because we maybe can't do what we always thought our life would be. And there's so much mental health involved. And so again, the more active you are, the more empowered you are, the better off your mental health is going to be, because you're going to feel like, okay, I have some control here and I'm doing everything in my power to help myself. And that makes me feel good, not only physically, but mentally.
Right. I mean, at the end of the day, we all have to be accountable and responsible for different aspects of our lives. So, we don't really understand, why certain people get whatever they get. And whether it's autoimmune, whether it's other diseases, life just hands you a deck of cards and you just don't know, what hand you're going to be dealt. This is how it is. So, while I think that's a big piece to it, is a lot of people, I'm not sure that I would say that they feel guilty about it, but they feel like, I don't want to feel bad for myself because I'm going through this. But it's okay to validate, the hurt or the sorrow that you feel about it, because it's a journey that maybe you weren't quite prepared for. And you may have to do a lot of adjusting in the beginning to tweak what's going on. And, I hope too, being obviously that you're doing it from a holistic manner, that people realize that a lot of these things can be controlled holistically without being put on medication. That doesn't mean you don't need to. Obviously, first and foremost, we tell everyone, do what your doctor tells you to do, but don't just do what your doctor tells you to do.
Right.
I always say, do it, but don't. Don't be afraid to ask those questions. Is there, a way I can control this by diet? Can I introduce a supplement or something other than what you're recommending? Because big pharma is big pharma, so you can't get around that.
Absolutely. And I'm glad that you said ask those questions, because that's really part of what I teach as well, is how to advocate for yourself, how to speak up, how to know what to ask, and also how to know how to even talk about it just with your own family and friends. It's very hard to say, I need help, or I'm really down because of this, or, you can support me in this way during this process. A lot of people don't feel comfortable and don't necessarily even have the words, so advocating for yourself, learning how to talk about this and share it with the people who love you and support you and with your doctors is a big piece of the pie as well. I say there's really like a 5-step framework, and advocating for yourself is one of those steps. Being an educated patient, that's part of being an advocate for yourself. So asking those questions and learning what to ask. Because in the beginning, you don't know, you're very overwhelmed. You're in that room. It's all like, wah, wah, wah.
Right.
You can barely even pay attention to what the doctor is saying. So that, again, the more prepared you are, the better off the whole process is going to be.
What would you say is the number one? Because I mean, you're hearing more and more, the more friends you talk to, the more family, and it just seems like we're on an onslaught of people with autoimmune issues. Do you find with your clients and that you're helping, that there's one that pops out to you as probably maybe, I don't want to say the most popular, because we don't want it to be popular, but the one that seems to be that you're finding a lot of people have? And the 2-part question, whatever it is, are there several ways that you're finding? Because we're all different. We look different. Our brains are different. Our guts are different. Our health and wellness is different. Even though, say, straight across the board, you had said 10 clients that had the exact same autoimmune, yet you found, wow, this one treats it this way, this one treats it that way.
Yeah, what an interesting question. I do think with, like you said, 20, 40 years ago, people did have autoimmune. They just didn't necessarily know it. It was like, oh, my great aunt always had joint pain and her fingers, did this, and she always had a stomach ache and that kind of thing. And they didn't know what it was, right? Because back then they might not have known what it was. So what I do hear a lot these days is lupus, is rheumatoid arthritis, is various digestive, IBD issues. These come up on, it seems like everybody has a stomach ache and doesn't know why, right? Or everybody has joint pain and can't figure it out. Those are coming up a lot. And I think the biggest thing that I'm seeing is that, unfortunately, people think they're doing what they think they should be doing, something that they saw online, something that, somebody said, oh, you should try that, but it's not personalized to them. And that, I think, is the biggest issue. Like, yes, you should eat anti-inflammatory if you have autoimmune disease, but what does that actually look like for you? And do you think you're doing it, but you're not actually doing it? I
Right.
think a lot of times there's so much information on the web these days that people can look up that is not correct for them. So
Right.
out of 10 people, yes, they're all eating anti-inflammatory, but it might not look the same for everyone. I'm a
Right.
vegan, if you're not, my diet's not going to look like yours, even though we're both eating anti-inflammatory. What does that actually look like for each of us? And the same thing with movement. With a lot of these illnesses, the more you move, the better you feel. The less you move, the worse your joints are going to be. And that's something that people are not fully aware of either, or are afraid. They're afraid to go try and walk because they hurt so much. And I get it, but let's work together to find what can work for you, because, we know that if you do this, this could happen. That's really what I'm seeing a lot of digestive issues and a lot of like joint pain.
Right. And that would, the digestive piece, Jan, don't you think obviously would make sense? Where that one particular is going up really on a, like I said, like fast forward the last 20 years because of the way food is manufactured. I think that is a key factor that a lot of people, and the other key piece to that too, we talked about it probably it was about a month ago. If you look at different manufacturers and their ingredients, and that this particular corporation also manufactures in other countries, we have Europe in particular has a much stricter of the ingredients that can be put into a product versus the United States. And you could have, a box of, and I'm going to use a terrible example, like Fruit Loops, with all the bright colors of the world, which are just not healthy for your gut. But you'll notice the ingredients look different if it's produced and manufactured in Europe.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, what is coming out of a lot of these serious situations for people is being more mindful in reading ingredients and really understanding that just those are not in our control. We can't control what the manufacturer does, but we can decide like, hey, that I can either make that myself a healthier version, or okay, I'm going to try to go the organic route, but even going the organic route may have natural herbs and spices that whatever ingredients that also may contribute to your issue. So it's really about just taking charge of, finding out those key factors and really educating yourself on ingredients, which sounds overwhelming. So I get it. Don't you think, Jan?
Oh, yeah, because, part of that is reading the label.
Right.
Just because, when I became gluten-free, of course, the grocery stores have a gluten-free section, right? So, oh, that's gluten-free. Well, I can have that. Well, don't just pick it off the shelf without educating yourself. So it's like taking that next active step to actually read the label, because just because something is gluten-free doesn't mean that it's healthy. And it, look at the sugar content, look at the sodium content. If those numbers are up there, if something has one serving, for instance, has 32 grams of sugar, that's 8 teaspoons of sugar, which I believe is 2 tablespoons. That's a lot.
That's a lot. And they do say too, especially with gut issues and autoimmune that are really impacted by the gut, dairy and sugar are probably the 2 worst ingredients that you can put in your gut. A lot of people, what do you mean? The sugar is pretty obvious, but what do you mean dairy? And I'm like, oh, don't get me going on the dairy piece.
Right. Well, that's the thing. There's so much confusion out there. And yeah, you're talking about packaged foods, and it's easy to say, well, just don't eat packaged foods, just everything fresh, everything whole, everything organic. But obviously, not everyone can do that 24 hours a day for every single thing they eat. What I think is the thing is that they have to become a food detective in the beginning. And like Janice, you said, it's kind of a pain in the ass. It is, but you have to, you have to take control. And that's why working with a coach, a wellness coach, a nutrition coach, a health coach, whatever, is so helpful, because then you're not on your own trying to figure this out while you're just diagnosed, while you're maybe trying a new medication, while you're reading everything you can online that's conflicting information. Having someone to sort of hold your hand and walk you through it makes a huge difference, because it is confusing and there is no one way. And I think that's what people need to understand. And like you said, Carol, like people are like, dairy? I have to give up dairy? Like what? Like they think they're going to die if they can't eat cheese, right? So we have to work together to get them through the process of letting things go and letting new things in, and, really learning how to treat your body in the best way possible so you can feel the best regardless of being diagnosed. We want you to thrive regardless of your diagnosis.
Absolutely. And milk does not do the body good, people.
No,
we talk about that all the time.
Yeah.
It is not the milk from the day when you got delivery. Jan and I can relate to that. As children, we would get quarts of milk delivered every morning. And I can still see the little metal rack and the milkman coming to the door. It is not that type of milk, people. God forbid these poor cows, what they're giving them. And that we can go on a whole rant and rave. What I do love that you talk about is the organizational piece. And that's what you help them, because, here now we're talking about, you got to go pad to paper. Do you have, and I imagine you do, I think you alluded to that, different pieces that are already basically mapped out for them, some basic questions. These are what you're going to ask the doctor. Here's a great list of specifically to your needs of, maybe some food categories that let's map what you're eating. Hey, like here's a diary of your daily diet already mapped out for you. Which ones do you fall under? So I imagine that part of your coaching includes that.
Yeah, I actually have on my website, I have a couple of ebooks, and and cheat sheets. One of the cheat sheets is what you should bring to the doctor to get diagnosed. So it's right there for you. Essentially, it's a list of questions. I think it's a 20-point cheat sheet of things that are going to help your doctor help you basically to get the diagnosis. So, and that's free on my website to download. So I would recommend that anybody that's having trouble getting diagnosed, go ahead and download that, and you can start there. And the other thing that I have is the autoimmune handbook that I wrote, which is really for the person who's newly diagnosed. I go through everything, like the sort of standard blood tests that they're going to run and what they are, what they mean, the potential medications that they might put you on, biologics or anti-inflammatories or, steroids or whatever. So basic information like that. Also, how to create a team of doctors so that your doctors are actually communicating with each other. You might have more than one illness. You might have your primary and a rheumatologist and an endocrinologist and, and so on. And how do you create the perfect team for you? Oftentimes people stay with doctors that they are miserable with, that are not treating them as the person that they are. They're treating the disease and not the person. And, we're individuals. So how to put together the right team, how to talk about it with family, it's all mapped out for you. All the things that are overwhelming in the beginning, including the food journal and the pain tracker and things like that. The autoimmune handbook is a really great starting point for someone who's feeling overwhelmed. And then obviously working with a coach, working with me or any coach is going to help hold your hand through that process. A lot of times, in the groups online on Facebook and things, people are venting and complaining and sad and, I'm never going to get better. And they don't have family to talk to, or their family doesn't believe them, or, they think they're lazy. Their family is saying this to them. And so working with a coach is also the opportunity to say all of that and get the support back that you need. So the whole mental component, the physical component, the stress management, the food, the nutrition, the exercise, and the finding the right team of doctors. These are really like the big factors that are overwhelming at first. And the autoimmune handbook is a great start to, again, you can download it off of my website, and the cheat sheet of what to bring to the doctor if you're not diagnosed yet. Both of those things I think are really key for people to start to feel more empowered.
Love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And then when you're working, when I'm working with a client, there's no two programs that are the same, because again, there is no one way. Like, yes, we should all be eating healthier, but what does that mean for you? And so we really dig in and figure out how you can sustain these changes, because it needs to be sustainable. You can't do yoga for a week and be like, oh, I'm great now, or change your diet for a short period of time and then go binge on all the things that you're missing. That's not going to work. Being healthy becomes your job when you're dealing with health conditions, and teaching people how to do that, so that it becomes normal. It becomes their everyday. This is how I live, not this is my diet and this is my, it's really your lifestyle. You have to make changes if you want to feel better physically and mentally. Right.
And, and that message really resonates across the board, even if you don't have an autoimmune issue. Yeah. We're here to be our best selves and live our best selves.
Yeah.
And that takes being accountable and living a healthy lifestyle. It doesn't mean that you're going to be living on carrot sticks and celery sticks. However, if you want to go decade to decade at your healthiest, not only from a gut and physical perspective, but a mindset perspective, you need to nourish your mind, you got to nourish your stomach, and you got to nourish your body and your soul. So regardless if you're very, very healthy, you want to stay healthy. And you want to advocate for yourself always, always, always. I love everything you brought to the table this morning. This is awesome. What do you think, Jim?
Oh my goodness, so much goodness. And, I just want to go backtrack a little bit. And first of all, I want to welcome all of our amazing listeners on the Wisdom Audio app. I see some familiar faces and names. So thank you so much for being here. We obviously love what we do. I think part of it, when we go into a situation like that, sometimes we say, well, I can't do this. And I think if we focus on what we can do, for instance, my kickboxing class this morning, I was, one of the last cool active rest periods was doing this overhead with my gloves on. And I was just like, oh, I was doing like this to get it was tough. I'm like, okay, let me think about this a little differently. Let me take my gloves off. And then I was able, to do that. So just the bottom line is, think about what you can do. You will be so surprised at what you can do. Don't focus on what you can't do.
Absolutely.
I love that. Yeah.
Good words to live by in, again, all aspects of your life. Just stay focused on knowing that, we are given this body, we're given this mind for purpose and passion, and you got to nourish it. You got to take care of it. So I love that. How can everyone reach you?
On my website or on Facebook. My website's renewforanewYou.com, all spelled out, renew for FOR a new you.com. And then on there in my wellness shop, you can find the autoimmune handbook as well as the other downloads that are available. And on Facebook, I have a group that's called From Not Coping to Thriving with Autoimmune Disease. And so you can look that up as well and join the group. And, I post something 5 days a week, and it's, everything from inspiration to, more guidance on how to live this way. And I'm glad you mentioned also, lastly, that it's not just about autoimmune disease. It's about anti-aging. It's about memory health, brain health. It's about, staying healthy. If you're healthy, yay you, let's stay healthy. Right. How do you stay healthy through the years? Weight issues that happen for a lot of women at certain points in their life, and so all of it's really about general overall health and wellness, and taking control of the things that we can to keep ourselves healthy and happy and balanced. So yeah, that's where you can find me, renewforanewYou.com.
And of course, thank you so much for providing that information. We'll make sure that all that information gets in the show notes. One question for you. What would you think, before we sign off, because we're going to do our Wellness Wednesday thing, what is like the most outrageous question you've ever heard and that made you like pause and go like, wow, okay.
Or giggle.
Oh gosh, that's a tough question, actually. What is let's see. I mean, I feel like so much of what I hear is around food that it's more the things when people say, how am I supposed to give up cheese, or how am I supposed to give up meat, or there's no way I could possibly live if I have to cut this and this out. I think it's the mindset of a lot of people because of how they were brought up and what they were brought up eating, that it's really so much of it comes down to food and feeling out of control with food and not really recognizing what they are choosing and what they're afraid to give up. So it's all about, it's almost always about food. Like, how can I possibly not eat blah blah blah?
Right.
Those are the kinds of questions that come up first, but really it's the question under the question. It's not so much how am I supposed to give up cheese, it's how they feel that they have to change their life, that they're so used to that. So it almost always comes back to the mindset and the mental health component of the changes that you have to make. It's less about the actual changes because the issues are really deeper than that. And that's what we work on. I can tell
and I always tell people, if they got any questions about giving up dairy, there's a great documentary out there on Netflix called What the Health, and you will be grossed out. Okay.
Yeah, for sure.
You will be like disgusted. And what was I thinking? Why was I brought up on that? And it's, you hate to say it, but big pharma, corporations, they're all, the bottom line is they're there to make money, and absolutely, so they should. But a lot of things that are produced today are really not good for you. Yeah. And it is changing that mindset, because we were brought up where, you got to have dairy, it's for your bone health. Well, there's other enrichments of food that have great calcium and other ways to keep your bones strong.
Totally.
Guess what? That isn't dairy. So it's just really a matter of changing, like you said, the mindset. Like, how can I give up that milk? How am I supposed to eat my Cheerios without milk? Well, there's other things that you can put in your Cheerios.
Yeah, totally.
That's awesome stuff. Well, we're going to kick right into, because obviously it is Wellness Wednesday. That is a day that we celebrate wellness, wealth, having a healthy relationship with money, and paying it forward, putting it out in the universe, being kind to other people. And it's a random act of kindness. It's not giving to your favorite charity, loaning your neighbor $10 or your family member, whatever it may be. It's about an unsuspecting person. Well, that doesn't make sense, Naughty Boss. How do you do that? Well, let's think about it. We're talking about food. We're talking about things that you got to eat. Where do you get those? You have to go to a store, right? You go to a grocery store, a farm, or whatever it may be. Well, how about going through that pet aisle, or maybe going through the baby aisle? And we know, obviously, the cost of things are going up dramatically, and we want to make sure that we are putting that healthy relationship with money out to those that may be struggling. And when you forward that kindness, guess what? It gets them to do it. So what can you do? And it's not about the dollar amount. It could be $1, it could be $5, whatever you choose you want to do. One of my favorites is, because of the price of gasoline, is when I'm getting gas, I will fold up a bill in the shape of a credit card, and where you put your credit card slot in there. Well, what if you happen to pull up and you're like one of those, mom, like I can only put in, a gallon of gas to get me to the school or to back and forth to work. I don't have it, but geez, what if there was a $5 bill or a $10 bill, and maybe that gave them probably only two gallons at this point, but that's 2 gallons you didn't have. That's going to make that person feel really, really good. Very surprised, because it was unexpected. That's the whole point. When you start putting those vibes out into the universe, guess what? Entrepreneurs know this. They feel it. They believe that. that when you put that kindness out there, the greatest piece of that is the gratitude that you're giving out to. So that's what Wealth Wellness Wednesday is all about. You could do it at a store, you could do it at a gas station, a library, go in the health and wellness section, open up a healthy book and stick a bill in there. That may be the turning point for someone that's got to cut out one brand of food or wants that same brand, but in a more expensive form. Maybe now they can get it. So it's just about that mindset and paying it forward. And that is what Wealth Wellness Wednesday is all about. It's a mouthful, we know that, but go out there and do that. You will feel good knowing that you're doing and helping other people out there that are unsuspecting. It's so cool. With that, we are so grateful for all the information that Rachel brought to the table. We hope that you reach out to her. She's got, I just already can just feel your vibe, number one, but number two, I love the fact that you've got these very attainable things that someone can immediately get help with, just downloading your information and the ebooks that you have online. So please check that out. This is Carol Sue, aka Naughty Boss, live on this Wealth Wellness Wednesday with
TwoSistas. Hey everyone, it's Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. Wealth Wellness Wednesday. I'm going to do the quick sign off on Wisdom. Wisdom, thank you so much for all our amazing listeners on here. It's been a pleasure. We'll see you again real soon. Thank you so much, everyone. Hey, everyone, just a quick goodbye again. Thank you so much, Rachel. It has been our pleasure having you on as our guest, and hopefully we want you to consider coming back and visiting us again.
Absolutely.
Absolutely, would love to. Thank you guys so much for having me.
You're
and
welcome.
we'll see you soon.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.